So we got a three-way triangle death match between Ben Shapiro, Tucker Carlson, and Nick Fuentes. Just throw the maestro in there, and the maestro with Tasmanian devil to fuck up. But I would always win. But they're all fighting with each other, and Tucker was fighting with Nick, but then ended up having him on his podcast, which made Ben Shapiro really mad because Ben Shapiro doesn't want Nick Fuentes to get any more airtime and mainstream any of his views. So now Ben Shapiro hates Tucker, and Ben Shapiro and Tucker are natural enemies because they're both like big time content creators, and obviously Ben Shapiro doesn't want Tucker to get bigger. And so now they're all fighting with each other, and we're going to see the PBD podcast take on it. So.
You have Ben Shapiro blasts dishonest Tucker Carlson for normalizing Nazism by hosting white nationalist Nick Fuentes. Why would he ever have Nick Fuentes on his podcast? I mean, I can't imagine anybody ever doing such a thing. But what is this right here?
They had it
on Ben Shapiro.
Okay, go for it.
Hey folks, I want to do something different on today's show. We're going to cover one topic in depth. That topic is, I think, the most important thing happening in the country. It was a hot topic last week, but I wanted to take some time to really gather my thoughts and speak on it in coherent fashion, holistic fashion. That topic is the fragmentation of the political right. That fragmentation is being caused purposefully by a splinter faction of people led by a young man named Nick Fuentes. They call themselves the Groypers. They are white supremacists. They hate women, Jews, Hindus, many types of Christians, brown people of a wide variety of backgrounds.
Well, that's okay.
Blacks, America's foreign policy, and America's Constitution. They admire Hitler and Stalin. And that splinter
Well,
faction...
the thing is, pointing out discrepancies, or pointing out the way black people act is not hating black people. I don't think Nick Fuentes hates black people, or any of these people hate black people. Well, maybe some people do, but I don't think Nick Fuentes does. He just points out the differences. He doesn't want to go in black neighborhoods. I don't want to go in black neighborhoods. I don't want to, as soon as more black people move in your neighborhood, it gets completely unsafe. You don't want to go there. And he's pointing out these types of things. And then Ben Shapiro's, of course, calling him racist for it. But although Nick Fuentes does say kind of sketchy things, like he admires Stalin and Hitler, so those are kind of sketchy, to say the least. But, I mean, I think he does it more for entertainment factor than if he actually likes them, but...
action is now being facilitated and normalized within the mainstream Republican Party. The main agent in that normalization is Tucker Carlson, who is an intellectual coward, a dishonest interlocutor, and a terrible friend. And Tucker Carlson last week was aided, abetted, celebrated for normalizing Nazism within the Republican Party by the mainstay organization of the traditional right, the Heritage Foundation. Now, before we explain what's been happening, let's make one thing clear. This is not about free speech or cancellation. It was never about free speech or cancellation. Free speech has a definition, the right to speak free of governmental coercion. I believe in it, of course. I've always defended it. Criticism of bad speech is, in fact, just a form of free speech. Cancellation also has a definition, the banning of particular people, including people like Nick Fuentes, from platforms like X or Facebook. I believe that Nick Fuentes is odious and despicable, but I've never called for his cancellation, and in fact, I've called for his restoration to those services, despite the fact that I think he's odious and despicable. It is not cancellation.
He just doesn't want anybody to platform them.
Between viewpoints.
Oh my God.
In fact, we used to call that one of the key aspects of conservatism. It is not cancellation to refuse to signal boost Hitler's supporters like Nick Fuentes. It is not cancellation to criticize Tucker Carlson.
You can pause right. Okay, Adam, go ahead.
No, let this guy speak.
No, it's your story.
This peasant.
I got you. Let's grab this one thing. So, when Ben called, by the way, Rob, I sent you a clip. That's what I was waiting on, and I'll get back to that in a second. When Ben called Tucker Carlson a intellectual coward, dishonest interlocutor, and terrible friend, you know what stuck out to me? The terrible friend part. Because I'm totally an advocate of free speech. We've had Nick Fuentes here. I mean, I've received so much criticism for shaking Nick's hand, playing basketball with Nick.
Let's skip him.
What's weird is I get along with Nick. You've seen
sources, often rather dubious sources, people you've never heard of. You know, the man with the mustache, some disgraced academic. And what I'll do is I will ask sort of leading questions in which is embedded an answer, not my answer, but framed as a question. You then will blurt out the obvious implications of the question, giving me the answer I expected, but I will pretend to be thunderstruck by it. It's an epiphany. It's a new revelation. People have been
Tucker does
suppressing
that
this
good.
kind of thinking for
He's
decades.
talking about Tucker.
So this is a shtick. It's a different shtick than Candace. Candace's shtick is the Candace intelligence agency.
Yeah, Sherlock
I'm
Holmes.
like the world's greatest detective. You know, I'm the Pink Panther of my time. I'm deputizing all my viewers also to be detectives. Feed me information. We're going to crack the case.
That's
so
legendary.
To me, this is like an intellectual embarrassment because all my life.
Well, they just hate anybody who's doing really good if it's not themselves. Like, so they don't want anybody to take their spot in the content creation area, you know, whereas Nick and Candace are getting so popular.
I've been an iconoclast.
You can pause that.
I actually think he's absolutely right. That's my opinion.
Yeah.
But Dinesh D'Souza's a credible guy in the
Can I ask you a
conservative
question?
movement.
Why is Ben? What do you think Ben's so upset about the fact that he's just speaking with him? Because you made the point. A bad friend to who? Is he talking about Charlie?
Charlie.
That's exactly what he's talking
That's
about.
what he's talking about. Well, and here's my
I
question.
think so.
Well, yeah, we're assuming. I don't know because he's not. Say what you want to say because here's my thing, Pat. The beauty about conversations that you've had. You've talked to Bibi. You've talked to him. The spectrum of people from Nick Fuentes, everybody. Why doesn't Ben? Because Ben's turned down other times where we wanted to have debates with, meaning with Candace or him. He refuses to sit down. Sit down with this person, have a conversation, and guess what? If your argument is better and it's gonna win, because hold on, let me ask you a question. Do you think Ben Shapiro would sit down one-on-one against Tucker Carlson? Ben Shapiro and Tucker Carlson, and like say,
I
just
want
talk
to
it
say
out, like.
that they've tried to arrange something, and one of them.
Because my thing is this, Ben.
Who do you think won't? Can you run a poll? I mean, if the audience watches it, who do you think won't agree?
Who do you think won't? Probably Tuck. I don't know actually. Maybe they both will probably say they will, and then they won't ever do it.
Did you actually watch the his? I think it was 40 minutes. Did you watch the whole thing?
No.
Okay.
I've read several summaries, but I have not like put it on 2x and gone through the whole thing.
Yeah, I watched it. I think if, by the way, if there were a debate, if there's one thing I will give Ben Shapiro credit for is that guy debates. Right? I'm not saying.
I agree, but
Like,
look at all the
Tucker
topics.
introduced Ben.
Answer the point.
Sure. Here's the point. He outlined the whole thing. Actually, in my opinion, it has nothing to do with Judaism or Christianity or this. Ben Shapiro, at the very end, I don't know if we can play it, gives this sort of like impassioned speech. He said, damn it, I've worked my whole life for this, the conservative movement, and I'm not going to sit here while these people try to ruin it. And that to me is what he's talking about. He's basically saying our enemy should be the far left and the woke left and what's going on there. And you're going to try to fracture the Republican Party and the conservative movement over this nonsense, over this Nazism, this racism, this chauvinism, whatever he kind of outlines. If you go to the last 2 minutes, you'll hear it.
We're not
That
going to do
me,
that, Rob. I'm taking
I'm saying
your word
that
for
to
it,
me
right?
is what he stands for. He's basically saying the midterms are coming up in 1 year exactly. The left is salivating at this internal civil war. Because don't forget, they call it the woke right for a reason, because it's a mirror image of what's going on in the far woke left. You know, whatever's going on the far left, the mirror image to the right is what's going on
You
there.
think Ben is a unifier?
That's not the word I would use to describe Ben Shapiro.
You think
no.
Tucker's a unifier?
No.
Okay. You think Charlie was a unifier?
1,000,000%.
1,000,000% as well.
If you're a reasonable person, you would come to
I
that
think
conclusion.
Charlie was a unifier.
I
Okay.
agree. I think
So
a lot of people on the
here's-
left think he was a divider.
Here's
You're wrong.
my opinion on this,
sir.
on a couple different things that I go through. Number one, so Ben Shapiro, the more they talk about Nick Fuentes, the more
bigger he
they
gets.
raise his profile. Nick Fuentes, if I'm his agent, I would say, Nick, phenomenal. Your number one PR rep this week was Ben Shapiro. Send him a $10 GoFundMe and congratulate him, saying thank you for supporting the cause and raising awareness to who I am. Okay? That's what that is. Number two, I would go and sit down like those trigonometry guys, who the trigonometry guys would sit down with me, and we did an interview one time, and he came very strong at me. I'm like, that's right after I called it the daily, yeah. And I'm like,
Constantine did?
Yeah, and I'm like, oh, I got you. And I corrected him. I said, no, qualified awards. He said, I'm sorry, I did, yes. So I don't. So then I'm like, okay, I got what's going on. Because again, I'm not in this community.
Yeah.
I'm like, there is a Tucker camp, there is a Shapiro camp, and both sides bow down to both. Okay, fair, no problem. Then there is the younger Nick camp, and then Charlie is trying to get everybody under the camp to be working together. Okay. I don't know if when you hear the market talking and there's interest in somebody giving a message, the more you dismiss them, the bigger that person's going to get, and that's what you've done. Number two, when we were having,
Well, that's the thing. Nick Fuentes is getting so big because almost everything he says is true. So, or everything he says is true. So that's why it's resonating with so many people.
Benjamin Netanyahu on the podcast, I knew what was going to happen. I knew what was going to happen. And I'm not even going to say what some of the stuff happened to us the last 6 weeks because I don't even want to add moments ever. Of
course.
Ben, when he was young, his one Pierce Morgan. Pierce is about to be here. We're doing a show with him today. I don't know when we're doing it, but we're doing a show with him today. And remember the first time when he was on there, and I don't know if it was years ago, Constitution, right when Pierce went over there. So, and Tucker Carlson. Tucker had his moment with Jon Stewart many years ago when Jon Stewart tried to make fun of him. That one right there. Look how young he looks. Not that one, Rob. All the way at the top. All the way at the top.
Yeah.
Yeah. Look at Ben.
When he brought in the Constitution.
Yeah. Ben has had some incredible moments, right, with what he's done. Both of them. So to me, here's a very interesting thing that's going on. Nick Fuentes. FYI, whether you like him or not, he ain't going away.
Nope.
Okay? He ain't going away, and he's going to have a voice. Here's the other part. Ben Shapiro, whether you like him or not, he ain't going away. Whether you like Tucker or not, he ain't going away. So now what? By the way, Republicans, you got destroyed last week.
Yep.
Ready? You got manhandled. Not last week, this week.
2 days ago, 3 days ago.
Destroyed last week. Okay? Marjorie Taylor Greene goes out there and she's talking about how she wants to run in 2028 on a firebrand, and Tom's talking about it could be a Ross Perot type of a moment. You know what all this leads to? Unless if you guys find a way to get it together, President Trump is not going to go out there campaigning for everybody in 2028. If you can't go win your small little mayoral races and contests that you got, and you're just waiting for President Trump to come and retweet and endorse you every single time, and you can't come and take on the mantle and go fight, there is some stuff going on in the Republican Party. So what's the plan? Is it going to be Tucker's camp, Nick's camp, Candace's camp, Ben's camp, all these other camps that are all over the place, MTG's camp, Thomas Massey's camp, and yeah, some of these overlap, probably Thomas Massey and Candace and Tucker and some of those guys will probably, MTG is probably going to be together. I think maybe an MTG is going to be a little bit of a challenging moment there. Ben's camp is going to be one, and quite frankly, when it comes down to Ben was wrong with Trump in 2016. Ben was wrong with DeSantis in 2020. I would sit down and talk like, what are you talking about DeSantis in 2024? So they've been, it's not like they've been also right on a lot of these things. Guys, none of us have been. Everybody's walking around like, anyways, I just think, right now, if you guys don't buckle down and get locked in, 2025 ain't going to be a red wave. 2025 is going to be a blue wave that comes through because they're watching all these. Let me tell you, Nick Fuentes is right. Let me tell you, Ben Shapiro is right. Let me tell you, Tucker Carlson is right. Let me tell you, Democrats won.
Yep.
How did this happen?
Yep.
You did it. So
It's just so annoying because Democrats just lie to the people and just tell them they're going to give them free everything, and then there's so many. The problem is there's so many just people with zero IQs, dodo bird brains. They can't figure out anything for themselves and they can't think for themselves, and they just need to be led by other people because there's so many people who are not leaders and they just have to listen to people, and they just get lied to and then vote Democrat because of it. But at the same time, a lot of the Republicans are, if they're not, a lot of them just are corrupted too, because once they get in, they're just completely controlled by their donors or by Israel first instead of America first, and it just destroys the country, and they never end up getting anything done. That's why people love Trumpy Baba so much, because he ends up going in there and actually shaking things up and actually doing what he said. But I don't know between Nick, Ben. The thing is, Candace became now the number one podcast in America. So Candace is doing really good, and then obviously probably Ben is jealous of that because his videos have not been doing as good lately. And a lot of the people who are Israel first have seen that. People are not having that anymore. They don't want us to put Israel first over America anymore, and that's what's really gaining other content creators popularity because they're not putting Israel first. So we'll see what happens. And yeah, Charlie was obviously trying to put everybody together, but now it's all getting just factioned off a lot more at least. But we'll see what happens. And the Maestro will be the next legendary content creator. If you like this video, make sure to like, share, and subscribe. And the Maestro never gives up.